What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is 5 ways living in the US has altered my perception of it. Obviously this is Lost upon Lawrence. The links will be in the description to his channel. Awesome channel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
We really enjoy reacting to this. This video I have seen a very long time ago. Again, a lot of these are kind of in the back of the memory a little bit. But it's all, I don't mind redoing these videos because one, you haven't seen them.
Yeah.
You guys love them anyway, and I can have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And potentially, because I say idiot things at times, like stuff just comes out, and potentially we can correct it. Because if I say something like that, you can correct me, and vice versa. So I don't mind doing these, and this is pretty much how I think Lawrence is explaining how I suppose you get the stereotype of a British person. He's gone over, he's lived it for however long, and how his perception has changed, whether it's in a good or a bad way. Let's see. Smash that like button if you want to see more. Smash that subscribe button as well, you absolute legends. And let's check out 5 ways living in the US has altered my perception of it. What we got?
In fact, it's just occurred to me, this is something that I've heard a lot since moving here. Press 1 for English. Para español, oprime el dos.
Very cultured.
Hello, this video is sponsored by the Great Courses Plus. I'm Lawrence Brown and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond. And one of those memos pertains to perceptions. It's no secret that both Britain and America have perceptions about one another. For instance, some Americans will ask me, "Ooh, Lawrence, is it true that you all live in castles?" Yes, but to be completely fair, before I moved to the United States, I had my own wild perceptions of what this country was. And today, since my channel has more than doubled in size in the last year, it's time to bring new subscribers, old subscribers, and yet to subscribers up to date. Here are 5 ways that my perception of the United States has changed since I moved here. American history, that wildly misunderstood beast. In Britain, you'll occasionally hear remarks like, "Ooh, America doesn't have history." In Britain, we've got churches older than dinosaurs and Keith Richards. No, they say, America is like the Macaulay Culkin of countries. But this line of thinking overlooks one very important fact. Macaulay Culkin is 40. But also, human history on this continent dates back to before Alfred the Great was even in nappies, diapers. You see, growing up in Britain, I was only given a kind of narrow view of Native American history. But the truth is, millions of Native American people lived on the North American continent, thousands of years before Sir Walter Raleigh laid his eyes on Roanoke. And when you live here, evidence of this is all around you. Recently, I paid a visit to Cahokia Mounds right here in Illinois. And on these mounds, 1,000 years ago, a city of 20,000 Mississippian natives lived. And while by today's standards, that number probably doesn't sound that big, at the time that was more than the population of London. Humans, not rats.
That's crazy.
And that's relatively recent. One story that really blew me away, pun intended, was that Native Americans were alive, living in the area, and likely witnessed the formation of Crater Lake in present-day Oregon. This occurred...
Wow, that's mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, on the history thing, again, it don't bother me if you say they haven't been around for that long or anything like that. They've got the history from the natives anyway. And I feel like from what we've learned already, the history of the United States may not be as long, but there's so much jam-packed into it. Like, they've had a civil war, they've had a revolution, they've had so much going on that the history, really, you could spend hours and like weeks on weeks looking into it. So I ain't got an issue with that one bit.
No.
Almost 8,000 years ago upon the collapse of Mount Mazama. Now, of course, when assumptions are made about America not having much history, people are really referring to the United States of America. But the thing that I've come to realize about this is that it has a lot of history packed into a short time frame. For context, let's go back in time. Not literally, I don't have a flying saucer. But switch on the time circuits to a quarter of a century after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. In 1800, the United States was home to just 5 million people. That's less than present-day London. And the country's been busy in that time because today it stands at 330 million. In 1800, the United States was basically a country only east of the Mississippi River. That'll be important in a moment. In 1800, Chicago, the Windy City, the place that I currently live, didn't exist and wouldn't for 35 years. And even once it did, it was located in the country's Northwest Territory. And actually, this also explains the geographical classification of the Midwest. Whenever I heard that term before moving moving to America, I just assumed that's where John Wayne picked up his mail. And there have been dark times and hopeful times. The expansion west, the Emancipation Proclamation, World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, Prohibition, women's suffrage, Tom Hanks being born, civil rights marches, the Civil Rights Act, landing on the moon, Watergate, Vietnam, Star Wars, both the film franchise and the missile defense system. You know, that was a very basic list from the top of my head, and it is one, admittedly, that you can pick up anywhere in the world. But elements of that history, and we should say very intense history, is still felt today. I mean, it calls to mind my visit to the Lincoln Museum in Springfield just a few weeks ago. Couldn't have done that in England, not even online. But I think the point is, you know, you can learn all of this history in a book, but I think being in and around reminders of it, physical reminders of it, is probably the best method of learning that there is. Anyway,
Definitely.
Before my upper lip becomes any less stiff, let's move on to this.
Okay.
Listen, I've talked a lot about how bloody big America is, and it is. I mean, just look at the map behind me. It looks like a giant shark.
It's
there's
huge.
the tail and
It is
there's
huge.
the head. Never mind. But there are so many more things that I didn't know about America's geography until I moved here. Here are 5 of them. Weirdly enough, I did know that the Mason-Dixon line was basically the separation between the North and the South. But what I didn't know until I moved here was the role that the Mississippi River played and plays in the division between East and West. And this division somehow seems to come up in everything I research for this channel. For instance, hello everybody in the state of Georgia. How does it feel to be the largest state in the United States that is east of the Mississippi River?
Okay.
Or hello to the Wilshire Grand in Los Angeles. You are the tallest skyscraper that America ever saw, west of the Mississippi. And one thing that I've noticed, having visited multiple places either side of the Mississippi, is the large disparity between tree diversity. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong, California has some of the oldest trees in the entire world, but owing to its terrain, the western United States is way behind on trees. Whereas if you go out into the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, you can't see the mountains for the trees. That's not the saying. The third point...
I guess it's weather though, that isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
You got deserts and stuff like that. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely roasting.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have too many
No.
trees growing.
No, exactly. So it'll,
is a foresight.
weather is definitely comes into play.
Yeah, 100%.
One. If you've watched this channel for a while, you'll know it's not lost on me. America is made of rectangles. Literally, in the case of this map. I'll never tire of the fact that the US flag, hundreds of US counties, most US streets, several city parks, and Colorado and Wyoming are all rectangles. But living in their rectangular worlds are some decidedly non-rectangular people. And because there are 330 million Americans, I always assumed that the population density of each state was similar to that of the United Kingdom. But something that I've learned since living and crucially working here in the United States is that several states out west do have a larger area than the United Kingdom, but might boast 100th of its population. And these days, this is something I can talk about until the cows come home. And actually, in some of these states, this is quite likely because cows often outnumber people. Now, to
Wow.
be fair, states like Rhode Island fit 350 more people per square mile than the United Kingdom, despite being 1/75th its size. Traveling around the United States has given me a new perspective on how state clustering works. East of the Mississippi, there are places where you can drive through 1 billion states in an hour. In the West, you might be in the same state for 1 billion hours. And depending on where you start, a reasonable drive from the East Coast to the West Coast can take you through as many as 14 states, but
That's
as
mental.
few as
That's
7.
crazy.
Similarly, driving from Mexico to Canada might take in 10 states or just 3. Either way, it's food for thought, and at this time I'm going to turn my thoughts to food. My perception of American food used to be that it was just hamburgers and pizza and some...
Would you say that was yours
That's
as well?
pretty much was mine, yeah. And
Until-
just like fries and like junk food.
Yeah,
typically.
yeah, definitely. Because that's what you see on TV, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's all they, and like in the movies, you know, they're always eating like fries and...
And I feel like as a kid as well, when I spoke about America, I always spoke about wanting to get a supersized McDonald's and
Yeah,
stuff like
always when you're, I feel like as a child, I was always like, I want to go to America and eat all the food.
that.
And
Yeah, I was like, I can't wait to get a supersized McDonald's.
Nuggets and all
You know, we
sorts.
don't do that anymore. But it used to
No.
just be that kind of thing that I want to go to the
Yeah.
fast food places because they do it like bigger and better than
Yeah.
everyone else. But that's definitely changed since we're doing all these food
Oh,
reactions.
definitely,
Like
yeah.
so many comfort
so many that
foods.
we want to try and make, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
eat.
So unique
I feel
and
like we
stuff
won't
like
be
that.
going to a fast food place in America. I think we'll be going to some of these restaurants.
Definitely.
Sometimes both at the same time. I was a student once. I was only vaguely aware that America had its own desserts like pecan pie, or that Americans like to put one of about 58 million different sauces on things, or that while American cheeseburgers are noted for their plastic-like cheese, states like Wisconsin produce genuinely excellent cheeses.
So what would you say is the best cheese in the whole state of Wisconsin?
Oh, the best cheese in the state of Wisconsin is called Muscadet Mayhem. Actually, I have to show you. That's Case Meister. It's Muscadet
I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
Let's get one of those.
Yeah, we'll get one of those too.
Absolutely.
And while I think it was pretty common knowledge that American portion sizes were bigger than their British counterparts, I had no idea back in the day that the United States was the land of the free refills. See what I did there? Wordplay, which brings us on to this. The writer George Bernard Shaw once said that Britain and America are two nations divided by a common language. And
Yeah, we definitely noticed that in our reactions, haven't we?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
some of the stuff you guys say compared to what we
Yeah.
say, like, just we're so confused at times,
Yeah.
aren't we? And I think you guys are confused with us
Yeah.
at times.
he should know because he was Irish. But when I lived in Britain, it wasn't as clear to me just how deep this division was. In hindsight, it seems like there are certain well-known and popular differences, like chips instead of fries, colour with a U or without, and aluminium versus aluminum. But as a British person living in the United States day in, day out for 13 years, you discover ones you didn't even know exist. For example, as recently as a few months ago, I learned that Americans pronounce centrifugal as centrifugal. Right, because there are just some words like that that don't often present themselves in general conversation. And so for years I might have been pronouncing something in the British way, and Americans would have thought I was a right numpty, and I would have had no way of knowing except by reading the comments section. But to address American English specifically, only by living here did I become aware of regional differences. Right, how most of America says Mary, Marry and Merry all the same, but some parts don't. Or how the
How do you say that?
Mary,
Yeah.
marry,
Yep.
Merry.
Okay, so you say different.
Yeah, like Merry Christmas, Mary, Jesus' mother, and marry someone.
Yeah, definitely. Like, but some people say that the same in the US. Some reasons.
I can actually kind of, I had to think really hard about how
Did
I
you?
said them.
I mean,
I think it's like Mary,
get-
marry, Mary.
I do get like I miss
Yeah.
my T's out and stuff like that, and people are like, how do you miss your T's out?
Yeah, I
But-
always correct you, don't I? Always.
Definitely, but it's kind of like, for me, I'm like mare, ma, like marry,
Yeah.
mare, Mary,
Mari.
marry, ma, mare. And what's the other one?
Mary.
Mary. I can understand Mary and marry,
Yeah,
but again,
Mary
it's
and marry,
the
but
ending's different, isn't it?
I feel like they still sound like different words. You don't think you're going to marry Mary?
Yeah, you start off with ma, but then you got re.
And re. Both are re's, aren't they?
Mary,
Mary,
ma,
re.
Mary,
Marry.
Mary. Okay, Mary. You proper pronounce it,
Yeah.
marry. You say it
Yeah.
quicker. I don't.
Marry.
But
Mary.
I can.
Yeah, you do actually.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I can understand why.
I'm struggling with your accent now, and I've been with you for 5 years, so that's a bit concerning.
I suppose when you actually do break it down, the syllables are very, very similar. The Mary one, it's me, but Mary and
Marry.
Mary. No, I just said Mary and Mary.
Mary,
Yeah, Mary.
yeah.
Mary and Mary.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's just one's got an extra R.
Yeah.
Mary's got an extra R.
Yes,
Mary.
I can definitely get that.
Why that yeah.
The Mary one, I don't know about that.
I don't know if you can include that one.
But I suppose if you say it quickly, then
Yeah.
maybe.
And
But
maybe in their accents.
let us
well.
know if I said it all the exact same then, or if you're confused as us.
country regionally differs on what they call a fizzy drink. Soda, pop, Coke, tonic, or how
do we call
Midwesterners use the word
What?
Either we just say the name of the drink, don't we, or we just say
Ooh,
fizzy drink.
Coke, fizzy drink. My dad says pop. Up
Yeah.
north I say pop and stuff like that. So it depends where you're from.
Yeah.
I've never used the word soda
never, no.
or anything like that, but it normally is fizzy drink, pop, or just like a Coke,
Yeah.
whatever it is, Fanta, Coke, whatever.
ope, and how the rest of America does not do that. And when I lived in Britain and I thought about the United States, it never really occurred to me that there was one other language in particular that's quite prevalent over here. Spanish. Whereas Britain often has, say, instruction manuals in English, French, Welsh, American manuals and public information will usually include a Spanish version of the text. In fact, it's just occurred to me this is something that I've heard a lot since moving here. Press 1 for English. Para español oprime el dos. And of course, now that I'm here, all of this makes sense. You know, not only is the United States bordered with Mexico, but the country is home to more than 50 million Hispanic or Latino Americans.
Wow.
And funnily enough, to tie this back to food, because eventually everything comes back back to food. Britain itself has begun to embrace Mexican and Tex-Mex establishments. Seems like...
Oh, definitely. We've got quite a few now, haven't we? I mean, I really haven't given it a go because I'm a picky eater, as you guys know. But you've been to Tex-Mex, I think, haven't you? Or Air Mex?
Air Mex, we call it, yeah. I've been there. I'm not the biggest Spanish
Mexican eater,
but I gave it a
Spanish
try
eater.
And it was all right, the stuff they had.
Yeah, but a lot more definitely popping up, aren't there?
Oh yeah, definitely, and it's in Jersey as well. We've got a few
in Jersey, and we don't have many
lot.
different things as well.
No, so that says a lot. The fact that we've got a couple.
Definitely.
All of the good things happened after I left. Anyway, amid all of this talk of language, have you ever wondered how English took on a life of its own in America? Well, now, thanks to the Great Courses Plus, you can learn all about it. I am thrilled to recommend...
Oh, we'll leave that there because I think it's just the ad. Or have you got anything else?
I think it's just the
Americans and, let's face it, Floridians. Because I think...
Oh, no, to be fair. We'll skip the ad. I'm sorry, Lawrence. If you guys want to see the ad, link will be in the description to this video.
Pages are also included below. In the meantime, you can't have a country without people.
Very true.
Americans, when we British people think of Americans, what do we think of? What do we picture?
Happy
As a
people
child
all
of
the
the
time.
80s, I imagine that a large percentage of you were perfectly embodied by J.R. Ewing and Sue Ellen. Mind you, I'm the same kid that thought the Golden Girls was set in New York City because the intro featured large buildings and also because Different Strokes was set there. But I've since realised it's the most Florida thing that ever Florida'd. But in many ways, Florida itself provides Britain with a false view of Americans and, let's face it, Floridians. Because I think we think that something like, 1 in 2 Americans is a Florida man. And that's silly. I think it's like anywhere else. When you sit down with most Americans in...
of people from Florida are happy people that just go to Disneyland all the time.
Yeah, but like the only in Florida, has that not changed it a little bit?
It's changed my opinion now, yeah.
But a lot of people...
growing up, it's always been like, oh, you're from Florida. Like my history teacher was from Florida. I was like, so you've been to Disneyland loads of times then?
Because you absolutely love that, don't you? But I guess a lot of people explain it to me like you kind of have US and then Florida is just his own entity. Like they're a bit crazy down there, but they're happy crazy and they know we are. You know what I mean? But on the people again, they've been absolutely lovely to us. In the comments, you guys are absolute legends, and that's
we
pretty
can't
much
complain.
it. Can't complain. You guys have been so nice to the channel and us guys. So positive from us.
In real life, as opposed to Twitter, I think most Americans are good-hearted and polite and curious. And have I just been hanging around with the wrong Americans? Maybe I should just go for a drink with Chainsaw Jim. Put it this way: you know who's approachable and who's not. You know who's your bag and who isn't. I mean that in a metaphorical sense. Don't at me on Twitter. And yes, Uncle Toby, I hear you. Ooh, you have to like Americans because your wife's one. No, that was a theoretical conversation with Uncle Toby. That is it for this video. Let me know in the comments below.
He's so funny.
He is great. He's perfect for his videos, isn't
he?
he? If you guys want to check his channel out, the links will be in the description. What do you think about them?
Yeah, that was good. I wasn't expecting some of the differences that he, changed his opinion, but
I suppose you can see it, how the stereotype and then how it's explained, how different it is.
Yeah, definitely.
And stuff like that.
I feel like growing up, you always have the stereotype until you learn more about it. So
exactly, yeah. Unless you experience it or learn about it, you always kind of grab everyone else's opinions and create your own stereotype.
It's like New York for me was not how it was when it wasn't what I thought it was when I went there.
Yeah.
I felt like I was gonna see movie stars everywhere. Didn't see one.
We still enjoyed it, but it was still very
time,
good. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
If you guys have enjoyed this video, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button as well. You absolute legends, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.